get started. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. My name is Cassie, and I work at the Earth Institute at Columbia University. And along with Dr. Josh Fisher, who's going to say hi in a second, we are going to be running the first ever Earth Institute Summer Intern Program for undergraduates and teachers. One of the research centers at the Earth Institute has done this for a long time, but we're really excited to have this new research experience opportunity for undergraduates and for educators. Josh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Josh Fisher. I direct one of the Earth Institute research centers focused on peace, conflict, and sustainable development. And I'm excited to host this opportunity with Cassie.
Great. Thank you. So for those of you who are hearing about the Earth Institute for the first time, just to give you a quick little bit of information, our core mission is to foster a greater understanding of the science behind climate change and sustainability and what we as global citizens can do. It's actually quite a diverse center in terms of the content expertise, the backgrounds of our researchers. Experts that make up the Earth Institute include business and policy experts, economists, environmental scientists, specialists in public health and law. And it's actually made up of 24 or so research centers and hundreds of individuals that actually collaborate across many different departments and disciplines at Columbia University. So, as I said, we are the Earth Institute is doing this summer research experience for undergraduates and for teachers, and it's being funded by the National Science Foundation. We are a new site for summer 2021, and you will absolutely see our inexperience as we figure this all out, especially during this year. Thank you in advance for your patience as we also figure out what it is we are going to do this summer. But we have some great mentors, and we have some great projects, and you're going to hear from all of those individuals today. And then what we're going to do is open it up for questions at the end. So if you could please hold off on your questions until the mentor presentations are done. They each have very specific instructions to speak for only 3 minutes, and some will just talk about their projects, and we'll share slides. If you have questions that come up, sorry, it says my internet is slightly unstable, so I apologize if I'm pausing. So do use the chat box if you have questions. We will cover application requirements and dates and all the fun logistic info after the mentors are done with their quick overviews of their projects. So I'm going to hand it over to Andrew Krukevich. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Whichever student ends up with Andrew, if you can figure out his last name and spell it correctly, I will give you extra brownie points. So Andrew, if you want to start us off and talk about your project, that'd be great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Josh, for convening, and welcome everybody. Very nice to see everybody here today. My name is Andrew Krukevich, and I'm based at the International Research Institute for Climate and Society, also known as IRI, part of the Earth Institute. And yeah, today we're going to be sharing a little bit more about one of the projects that I'm leading, but also working on with various partners. And I wanted to start off just by posing a question. To what extent is everyone familiar with some of the discussions happening now about the relationship between conflict and climate? And you don't have to answer, obviously, but I mean, there's been a lot of discussions happening about what causes conflict, and did this drought lead to certain types of armed conflict or disruption in different sorts of networks, or even migration. And there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of questions to be unpacked. There's different ways to look at it on long-term climate change and longer-term trends, but also thinking more about short to medium term interventions and also policy development as well. So the project that we are leading here at Columbia, also with Josh Fisher's group, AC4, the Advanced Consortium on Cooperation, Conflict, and Complexity, and also working with the CGIAR research team on climate and climate security. CGIAR is the world's largest network of researchers on agricultural innovation and agricultural research. We're leading a project called Supporting Short and Medium-Term Anticipatory Action and Policy Development in Climate Security and Food Systems. And this is a 2-year effort, and essentially trying to think more about how do we better understand the potential relationships and opportunities for additional research at the intersection, at the policy, science, and practice intersection related to the broader concept of climate security. Now, it's exciting because it's an evolving space. There's a lot of discussions happening. Even at Columbia, there's a lot of discussions happening on this topic. However, we're focusing in particular on the shorter to medium range timescales to uncover and describe some of the opportunities moving forward. So yeah, this is, if you're interested in multidisciplinary, complex real-world challenges within disasters and emergencies, and particularly related to conflict situations, if you're interested in peace building and the links between climate shocks and how peace building standard operating procedures and policies are developed, then this might be a project that you would like to consider. So I do not have any slides to show. I figured I'd just share some of the background. But yes, very, very glad to talk more with anyone who is interested. So yeah, I think that's the 3 minutes. Cassie, back over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. And if you are able to stick around, and if there are questions while the other presenters are presenting, again, for our students and teachers who are here, feel free to use the chat box. So Angel, you're up next.
Can you hear me now? Hey, my name is Angel Munoz, or Angel, if that's easier. The host has spotlight. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but we see it in sort of
Okay, yeah.
the slide view. You just want to make it presenter view?
Absolutely. Yes. Okay,
Perfect.
so I'm Angel, and I also work at the IRI. I'm a climate physicist working at the interface between climate and society. You know, we do similar things what Andy, we call him Andy K. So that's the solution, Casey Krushevich. We work in this particular case. We're interested in having a person helping us with this early warning system for acute undernutrition in Guatemala. So this is also part of this big Columbia World project we have at the IRI. IRI leads the first Columbia World project. It's called Act Today. And we have been working in 6 different countries around the world. And in this particular one, what we want is to, be able to produce, to help our local partners to produce the best climate services, understood as the generation, translation, transfer, and use of climate information, so they can create more resilient solutions for societies around the world. And in this particular project, Carmen Gonzalez and I have been working with Guatemala's National Secretariat for Nutrition and Food Security in order to have not only a forecast system, it's a surveillance and forecast and a climate service to try to mitigate, if possible, undernutrition in Guatemala, one of the countries in the world with the highest number of kids under 5 years old experiencing this acute and sometimes even severe undernutrition. So, you will be working, if you're interested, in terms of not only the science and the technical aspects of this prediction modeling models and initiatives regarding the overall early warning system, but also interacting. If you speak Spanish, that will be great. It's not required, but it will be great because you will be interacting with a lot of these partners. I'm going to stop there because I only have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Dara, you are up next.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
All right, awesome. Now I'm going to try and share screen. See how this goes. Share. Present. Okay, and no. Hi, everybody. My name is Dara. I am a geographer or a geographic information specialist at CEASN. The acronym stands for the Center for International Earth Science Information Network. If you join one of these projects, you'll hear from all your mentors. There are lots of acronyms being thrown around in this academic world and in the industry. So we'll help you understand what they all mean at some point. So this project that I'm working on is a part of a NASA data center dataset product. And so the NASA data center is called CDAC, the Socioeconomic Data and Application Center. And the type of data that we produce there has to do with how humans interact with their environment. And most of the time, they're global scale data sets. So what we're looking at here is a data set of nuclear power plants. So nuclear power is one of our energy infrastructure. But there's a lot of issues surrounding where nuclear power plants are located. So in this project, we're looking at people. Who is exposed to nuclear power plants? What's distance? How many people? What are the demographics? What are the age, sex? All these different demographics and socioeconomics of people. Because not everything in geography is the same, right? So there might be different types of exposure to different populations. So the types of questions that we're going to answer are, where are the power plants located? It's going to be no surprise, but there are a couple different data sources. And so in this project, what you'll do is cross-reference. So you'll use data science methods. If you're interested, we can use a little bit of coding in order to cross-reference and validate the locations and the descriptions of these nuclear power plants. But we'll also define different proximities. So people in different ranges, 30 kilometers, 100 kilometers, and we'll do some evaluation of those different populations. So I'm very flexible and want to be more of a mentor in this project. So if you're interested in, like I said, more coding or more mapping or developing applications, all good, we can experiment with that. But in the long run, you're gonna learn the ins and outs of how a NASA data set is created. Sounds pretty cool to me. And we'll play with maps. So in this image that we're looking at, so this is a CDAC's hazards mapper. So the hazards industry is one group who's going to use this information. And so in this application, you can draw a radius. Here we're looking at about 100 kilometers from one particular nuclear power plant. And the application spits out how many people and the amount of land area that is exposed to that individual power plant. So yeah, lots of cool opportunities. And I don't know how much time that was, but I will stop there. If you have any questions, let me know.
Great, thanks, Sarah. All right, Alex, you are up.
Okay, unmuting, getting my video going. Just have to narrate all this. Let me share screens. That's
Great.
next. We'll get this into some kind of presentation mode. So I'm just putting this slide up as backdrop mainly. So this work that I'm calling on an intern for is to help us with work that we're doing in one of two different projects. One project, this is all related to climate change induced migration. And this is a hot topic that some of you may well be aware, with media coverage happening almost weekly. CEASN has been involved for a number of years now, working with CUNY at Baruch College and the World Bank on future models of future climate change induced migration and displacement. building on this work that led to this report called Groundswell, we have recently been contacted by the African Union Commission, UNDP, UN Development Program, and World Bank to basically produce an enhanced model that will focus more, a bit more on short-term climate shocks and displacement in sub-Saharan Africa. So we will be building on the original climate model that we produced for Groundswell, which is a population gravity model, and enhancing it. There is another project under National Science Foundation funding, which is looking particularly at the complex drivers behind migration in West Africa, taking a more of a systems approach. And that project is has the possibility of using data from, say, demographic and health surveys or living standard measurement surveys or other surveys, and doing more of a tabular data analysis to look at how climate factors may be influencing migration decision-making in that region. There are lots of opportunities to do data analysis in this particular project, either spatial or, as I mentioned, tabular data. And you would be mentored by some of the best in analysts in the world, and learn a lot in the process, and expect you to do both data analysis and then a short write-up that would kind of combine the two. So I think I'll stop there. I probably raised more questions than I answered, but it will give you a little flavor of what we're looking for, and there is some latitude and some flexibility in terms of the skill set that we were asking for in terms of what kind of questions the student will then answer. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Alex. All right, Josh.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So our project is asking a lot of similar questions to the projects that you've heard about so far. Our project is focused on trying to understand the impact that protected areas have on social and environmental well-being. We know that we're in multiple existential crises, from climate change to the biodiversity crisis. We also know that intact ecosystems are really important tools for maintaining ecological integrity in the face of these challenges. So our project is funded by the Japanese government and Hiroshima University in Japan. And it's conducted in partnership with CEASON, with Alex and other analysts at CEASON, to do a geospatial analysis of protected areas, national parks, conservation areas, forests, etc., to understand the role that they play in ensuring environmental sustainability, as well as delivering benefits to the communities that surround these protected areas. Historically, biodiversity conservation has had a reputation for locking away resources and sort of creating fortresses that local populations don't have access to. But increasingly over the last couple of decades, the international community has shifted toward a model where protected areas are supposed to be designed to deliver social benefits. The question is, do they? And can a protected area simultaneously deliver both social and environmental outcomes for local communities and the surrounding ecosystems? So our project is designed to construct a multidimensional index of well-being that includes both social and environmental components, and then measure different types of governance systems for protected areas to see which governance strategies and which governance mechanisms enable a protected area to deliver benefits to the local population and safeguard ecosystems. So interns in this project will be assisting us primarily in the spatial and statistical analysis. They'll be involved in constructing geospatial data sets, involved in running spatial regressions and other statistical models, as well as analyzing some of the outputs of these models. If you're really interested in this and you're not a geospatial analyst or a statistician, there's definitely room for you also in the tabular side, both harmonizing and cleaning data sets and learning some of the spatial and statistical techniques, as well as helping us construct new data sets to test out our models in various geographies. So if you're interested, we're interested in you, and we can definitely adjust needs, expectations as appropriate. Thanks.
Okay, Great, thanks, Josh. Joanne, you are up.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Joan Lopez, and I am an anthropologist based at the Advanced Consortium on Cooperation, Conflict, and Complexity at the Earth Institute. And I work in a program that seeks to understand the connection between youth, peace, and security. So in other words, what is the role of youth leaders, for the most part, in the construction of more peaceful and secured societies. So we have developed in this program an approach that we called field work for social transformation. And this is based for the most part in Medellin, Colombia, where we have been working with youth community leaders for the past 6 years, trying to understand not too much the dynamics that lead to violent conflicts and conflicts in general associated with political matters, cultural and environmental matters. But we are more interested in understanding the dynamics that lead to peace building. What are those elements in systems, in this case Medellin, that allow people, youth leaders, to construct spaces of peace within conflict-ridden areas? This is sort of the guiding question that we use. And we have seen some technologies, some methods, some theories that have been developed from grassroots community leaders to construct these spaces of peace. So we have developed, based on these 6 years of field work, a certificate program that seeks to bring youth leaders from different parts of the world to explore the methods that we have developed with youth community leaders from Medellin, and so that they can implement this method into their own projects. So students come from different places with a project in mind, and then they, at the end of it, are able to implement some of the technologies and the methods that we offer in the program. For this particular year, we are developing a specific certificate program in Colombia in Spanish that is sensitive to the cultural dynamics of the country, etc. And so we would like to work with an intern in helping us further develop more data around peace studies, etc., and also in developing the modules that we will be using in this certificate based on this approach that we called field work for social transformation. So important here is that the intern should have management of the Spanish language, because we will be reading some literature, etc., in Spanish. So if you're interested, I am happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Joanne. So next we have Thad, and maybe Joanna. I will let you two decide.
I'll start
it. Okay, great. Thanks, Thad.
Hi, I'm Thad Pulaski from the Center for Resilient Cities and Landscapes. We're an applied research center in the Graduate School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation. And we work with city governments and sometimes other NGOs, but primarily city governments on climate adaptation plans. And right now we're working with the City of New York, the Office of the Mayor's Office of Resilience, on a climate adaptation roadmap. And so what this will be is a way to bring together different policies that New York City is contemplating, things like seawalls or managed retreat or other ways that we can change the physical environment of New York to be more adaptive for climate change. And they want a roadmap that helps them have conversations, sometimes difficult conversations with communities about the way the city will adapt to climate change. So we're looking for an intern to help us with that. It would involve some literature review, but also helping us organize some workshops and help just coming along with the conversation and learning about how policymakers have these difficult conversations. We're also working with some local environmental justice groups, considering how the open streets experiment that happened last year in New York City during the pandemic can be realized with greater equity. And we're working with a group of actually high school students in Washington Heights who want to turn the street in front of their school into a park, a clean air, green corridor. And finally, we're working with the Landscape Architecture Foundation and other partners in the design world on a Green New Deal super studio, which is basically an effort to take the ideas in the Green New Deal and land them on the ground and start to visualize what a just transition looks like in places like the north side of Pittsburgh or other parts of the country that don't get the same kind of design attention. So we're looking for people who are interested in pursuing careers in the built environment, but also helping us tell compelling stories about how we can adapt to climate change and build a more just world at the same time. Thank you.
Joanna, do you have anything to add?
No, that was great.
Okay, great. Thank you. So some of these projects are going to be sort of co-mentored, and you might have even 3 mentors. So I just wanted to make sure everyone has a chance. All right, so last but not least, Tom, you are up.
Hi, everybody. Tom Chandler. Great to be with you. I'm a research scientist at the National Center for Disaster Preparedness, and I'm also joined by my colleague Josh DiVincenzo, who is an instructional designer at the center. And a little bit about the National Center. We're a research, training, and public policy oriented center that focuses on disaster preparedness, response, recovery, and long-term resiliency, which is really a new area for research. And we've done some of the largest longitudinal studies in relation to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill from 2010, as well as Hurricane Katrina in 2005. In relation to training, we have a large program with FEMA that's funded by FEMA in relation to economic and housing recovery, where we're doing web-based and instructor-led courses now throughout the United States. And we also have a policy dimension in relation to a program called Resilient Children, Resilient Communities. I think Josh is going to put some of these links in the chat. The topic that we'd like to focus on for the summer with an intern is racial inequalities and disasters. We're particularly interested in the theme of housing buyout programs and the relationship with climate change, increased precipitation, sea level rise, and also the stunning rise in evictions during the COVID-19 pandemic and the long-term and short-term impacts of that and the relationship to racial inequalities for the long term. So we're really all about looking at the direct and indirect impacts of these types of events and how they impact long-term resiliency. Some of the skill sets we're looking for in relation to this position is some background in statistical analysis, but not a great deal. Also, geographic information systems and a little bit of background in qualitative research as well with programs like Atlas TI. One thing that's a little bit different about our program is we are specifically looking for a K-12 teacher. Would be fantastic if we could work with for the summer, because Josh and I have a really strong interest in curriculum development, and it would be great to see the intern take the research themes and data that's been discovered and analyzed and incorporate that back into the curriculum. And we would be really eager to work with the intern to incorporate that into lesson plans and curricula and pedagogical approaches that would add value in the K-12 classroom. So looking forward to talking with you all more.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. So that wraps up our mentor sort of presentations. Thank you everyone for giving a very brief overview and just making sure that we have plenty of time for questions. Just a couple of comments and for the students and teachers who are here, this is this is obviously going to be a new site, but I think it's really exciting, and I don't know about you, but the range of projects that you're hearing about now is really quite diverse and very interdisciplinary. And I think there's a little bit of something for everybody. You've heard a lot about community engagement and stakeholder engagement and translating materials for different audiences. And I think those are some big themes that we are really interested in putting out there. We think that, not that the basic scientific research isn't important, but what do we do with that research and that information afterwards? That's really sort of an emphasis that we have on all of these projects. And if you've taken a look at the 2021 overview or description of all the projects, there are two of them. So the last two that were discussed, both by Thad and by Tom, there are more teacher opportunities in those two, but I wouldn't discourage you to apply, and even and we're going to see what applications ultimately come in. And when you do apply, you are going to be asked for your top 3 choices. So if there are things that you are really interested in, but you're not sure if that particular mentor is interested in either a teacher or an undergrad, shoot us a note, let us know, make a note of it in your statement. So think about it as it's open, and